Alright, Shalom, Makim. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. I'd like to give divine honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I'd like to say Shalom to the elect that's teaching His word in all truth, faith, and sincerity. And today I just want to get into a lesson concerning the fall of the so-called white man, which biblically they are of the nation of Edom. And throughout the scriptures, throughout the Bible, it speaks on the fall of Edom, or the so-called white man. Now we're seeing it playing out in real time. You know, the scriptures talk about the end of the world. That's concerning the end of an age. So we really at the end of an era, the end of the so-called white man, his run. You know, matter of fact, let's get something real quick before we get started. I think this is Job 21. Right, Job 21 and 7. It says, "Wherefore do the wicked live, become old, are mighty in power." And that's concerning Esau. They said the wicked live and become old. Now you'll think it's just some nigga have done dirt. Now he 85 years old. You can apply that in a sense, you know, in a micro sense. But overall, the big picture is this man in his rulership. When you look at the so-called white man, his history, from the Greeks, the Romans, even up to today, the policies, the ideologies, you know, is wickedness, man. The things accepted and the things rejected is wickedness, and we seeing it today in its fullness now. And it said he lived long, and you know, pretty much become old, because even when you go into the statue of Daniel, pretty much the bottom half of the statue is Esau, from the thighs all the way down to the toes, man. You know? So he had this long run, and he's still in power, but now we're in a time where the Lord is about to overthrow him. Matter of fact, so let me get another scripture before we get into this article. Psalm 73, right, in verse 3, it says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." So how were you envious? Was we all was before we came into this truth. And envying after this, the wicked, is by the way of, you know, following after his ways, going through his paths, and such as, you know, you going to college, and you got certain goals and aspirations that's presented here, but it was fabricated by him. Esau, he the one that set forth the standard on what's living, and you know, he the one that set forth the standard on how to be in this world. And if you do this, you can get that. And if you do that, you can get this. Have certain celebrities and tell you, yeah, man, this how I got to where I'm at now. And a nigga will follow it. But it still go back to either so-called white man, because he's the one that set forth the standard. He's the one that's in power. It says, "For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm." Yeah, you can see this man, his military might, despite the Dow constantly dropping, the damn dollar is still powerful. It still can make shit move, man. You know? But we at the time now where this man is on a sharp decline. And that line full of vigor is now withering away, man. You know, that green tree that, you know what I mean, is being dried up now. It said, "They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men." Why? Because they in power. They don't have to look over their shoulder as a Jake do. You know? but soon they will get well acquainted with oppression, man. You know? So matter of fact, let me go and jump down to verse 16. It says, in verse 17, it says, until I went into the sanctuary of the Most High, then understood I their end. See, so, entering to the sanctuary of the Most High is really coming into this truth. Now you have an understanding of the end of the so-called white man, which are Esau, the Edomites. We get to understand this may end that this is not the end all be all. You retire here and raise your grandchildren. No. We in a time where the Lord is about to bring forth that destruction, man. Things are ripe, So let's get this article from Tribune. And it reads, rumors of American decline. And it's to the point, these devils, what the scripture say, he know if he had but a short time. All these other nations can smell blood in the water. Everyone knows it's clear and obvious. America, that bitch has lost her touch. She ain't as strong as it once was. And that's the Lord smiting this place. And pretty much got the U.S. versus the world by the way of Trump stirring shit up. But that's how by Shema was shy, man. Talk about the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. So now we seeing signs being taken. People don't want to deal with the dollar, and they will sidestep America concerning certain deals. It's only going to intensify until ultimately the destruction comes, man. So let's go into the article. It says the unceasing round of valor, greatness, discord, degeneracy, and decay. This is how Edward Gibbon summarizes the life cycles of Asiatic dynasties in his book. So, and that what happened. That's how kingdoms, they come and go. They start off strong, and then ultimately said discord, degeneracy, and decay, man. And we seeing that's playing out in this fullness now. That discord. That's why you got that civil war. You got these two opposing sides. You have people that still don't, just like when Obama was elected or selected as president, you a motherfucker took a stand. That's not my president. Back then you had Bush and nigga probably voted for Jim Carrey or something, but guess what? They had conceded and gone by their day. But we at the point now, they ain't accepting it, man. With Trump, you had these people, they losing it. They ain't gonna accept it. So you see the division. But you really ain't gotta break down the degeneracy. I mean, that's a just like the scripture talk about spiritual Sodom in Egypt, you really ain't gotta go into it. Just go to your local downtown and you'll run across something. You know what I mean? In the decay, man, this place is finished. It's wore out, it's withered. Or the scripture talk about how the world languishes. It says, continue on, it says, the history of the decline of the fall of the Roman Empire. It is interesting to note that he was sharing the thoughts on Asiatic decline in a book about the Roman or Western decline. And we are now repurposing it to evaluate the rumors surrounding American decline. This somber message strikes one much like a fortune cookie, a misfortune cookie. And that's what it is. Because this is the Roman Empire revived, man. The same policies, even you go into these different government buildings, it was the same as the Roman Empire. You got the Senate, the plebeians and the patricians. It's all here today. You go into their law or the botanical system, you got to go on, it's Latin terms, So this is the Roman Empire, and guess what? It's gonna once again fall. It's not like they're gonna somehow bounce back and figure out the recipe on how to keep shit afloat. No. This time when it goes down, it's not arising again. You know, that deadly wound that was healed, you know? Let's see, the reason we are once again discussing this topic has much to do with American politics and media coverage. Not a day passes without someone raising the issue. To some, Trump's return to the White House and his subsequent policies served to confirm their worst fears about American decline. Yeah, because the Lord, you know, get the spirit on Trump to stir shit up, man. Really to have everybody hate America. Even more. As much as they hate America, they had to deal with the war because, you know, very lucrative to deal with the bitch. But it's to the point, you know, it's so overbearing, you just like, fuck the money. Fuck her, you know. These nations are banding together against the whore, man. It talks about that in Revelation 17. How the beast shall hate the whore. So we seeing that process now by the way of Trump, you know. They're really burning bridges with the allies of America. It says to his supporters, America was already in steep decline, and only Trump can give it a fighting chance to reverse the trend. But what should we make of the pundits who have been predicting such a decline for decades? See, yeah, because that, you know, that snowball, when it wants to go downhill, get big enough, you can't stop it. They're saying it's hard to stop a train. You know that commercial, that runaway train, man. America's finished. Trump can't put no band-aids on it. Let's get some real quick. So that was pretty much it. We at the end of the so-called white man and his run, man. These Edomites know it. Jeremiah 51 verse 7, it says Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. See? And the Lord, you know, used America. You know, as you can see, the influence through it. It's a McDonald's everywhere, man, on every continent. They show you that the influence that reached forth throughout the earth. It says the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And yeah, they pretty much took on the policies, the ideologies. For example, democracy. Because that's, you know, it's like Pandora's box, man. You deal with democracy ultimately, and you're gonna have trainees running around and obesity, and that what comes with democracy. You know? And so they pulled out, but now these nations are actually getting pissed, man. They actually mad now. It says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. See? And you had Biden, I believe it was Trump to come up with the rescue plan, and you had Operation Warp Speed, these different legislations to be passed, you know, the stimulus checks. As we just read in the article, how you had some of these Babylonians to think that Trump would be the Band-Aid, you know, to somehow get this bitch back on her feet. As you can see, the Lord is being sarcastic concerning, yeah, I just like a nigga with a gaping wound in his chest, and you telling him to get more gauze. That's not going to work, man. That's not going to add a cubit to your stature. That's not going to add a second to your life. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. See? So it's really over for her, man. Even when you watch that movie, Menace to Society, and the scene, Kane's cousin out. And then he got put to death, and the guy wanted to stay, and pretty much old dog told him, "Hey man, the nigga dead. Let's go. What can you do?" So that's what America, man. She is finished. There's nothing you can do to get it back. Niggas trying to bring back the 90s or, some type of nostalgic. That's not going to do nothing, man. To revive this place. It's already decreed that it's going to fall. It says, "Forsake her, let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reaching unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the sky." See? So you seeing all these nations forsaking the whore. Even we forsake that bitch and went into our country by the way of going, not following after his ways, but dealing with our customs and our heritage, relearning the language of the Hebrew and the high holy days. That's how we go into our country, and forsaking the whore. Because this place is finished. We at the end of the so-called white man, And they ain't gotta say white man. And sometimes it might say Edom. Or it might say Babylon, Egypt, Sodom, Nineveh, Babylon, if I already said that. Even Assyria, these kingdoms that have came and went, is really America all rolled up into one. And who's running it? Esau, the so-called white man. Even when you go into end time prophecy. For an example, Isaiah the 63rd chapter. It talks about our Lord Yahushua returning from Basra with bloody garments, man. That's concerning his return. When he returned, he's coming to judge. So Isaiah 24, and I start at 4, it said, "The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish." See? It said the haughty people, which is that pretty much the proud. And that's one of the characteristics that's associated with Esau is pride. When you read Obadiah, it talks about the pride of thine heart. Even today, these saying proud to be an American, the few, the proud, the Marines, and even gay Pride Month. We didn't read in Psalm 73, but it talks about how pride passing him about as a chain. So he pretty much bound by it. He can't help himself but to be proud, But it said they're languishing, they're drooping, they're becoming weak. Actually, one of the definitions is to grow feeble. So over the course of time, it has become weaker and weaker, man. It says, "The earth also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant." So this is the most wicked. You can see the reason why this place is in a shithole, because he ain't following the laws of Yahweh Shai. From the land Sabbath to how you certain animals you can eat on all levels, man. This man has everything turned upside down. So the earth is in need of new management immediately. That's why World War III is in an event that's coming on the earth. There's going to be that clean-up process. As much as people think that the destruction is so primitive and messy, that destruction is actually going to be the start of this cleanup of the wickedness that Esau has ensued throughout the earth. Beginning with the air and the water being polluted. World War III going to actually help solve that. It says, continue on. Matter of fact, it says, "Therefore have the curse devoured the earth." See, that's Esau. "And they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left." See, that's going to be the solution. The destruction, man. And it said a few men left. That's concerning the elect. Those that, be delivered from the noise of archers. So So that's what's coming, man. We at the end of the so-called white man. He knows it. It's a reminder every day. He already got the prophets to let them know it. And you got Russia, which they gonna go down after the war. All these nations are. But we can see in real time the end of Edom, the fall of the so-called white man. So your argument just hold it with edifying, and then you give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rechai, Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone. Shalom to the elect. They're teaching the word on true faith and sincerity. Shalom.